Welcome to part 2 on how to draw this basket of eggs. Confession time, I actually did record a little bit of the part 1, but here I completely messed up the eggs. I don't know if you can see it properly on camera, but for me I completely messed it up. So what I'm going to do is separate this tutorial into 3 parts. So part 1 was on how to draw this basket of eggs, and that's what we did with this. And part 2 is now going to be on how to colour in the egg, and I'm going to show you how to do that with 1 egg. And the idea is that you take the technique and you apply it to all the other eggs in your picture. And then part 3 is going to be on how to colour in the actual basket. The first thing you need to do is pick your colour, and I've decided that this egg is going to be yellow, so I've picked 3 different colours that go with the yellow, because the idea is that the lightest colour here is going to be at the top of the egg. Then we're going to have a little transition colour near in the bottom of the egg, and then right at the bottom we're going to have the darkest colour. And the idea behind it is that the differences in the colour will help create a gradient effect and also a 3D effect, and that's the hope. But I did mess up my first recording, so I'm hoping that it does work out fine. Whatever colour you use, you can choose whatever colour, just make sure you have about 3 or 4 different colours within the range. The other thing you need to make sure is that the lightest colour goes at the top and the darkest colour at the bottom. And when I say the top, I don't necessarily mean that the egg has got to be at the narrowest point. The top depends on how you've positioned your egg. So if I look at my picture right here, you can see that for the egg that lies sideways, the top is this area here. And for the egg that is standing upwards, the top is the narrow end up here. So when I say top, that's really what I mean. So let's get started on this egg. The first thing you're going to do is lighten out the outline, especially if you're using a light colour like yellow, because the pencil will show through the colour if you don't get rid of as much as you possibly can. And remember, the technique that we're going to go through is going to apply to every single egg. The only difference between them is going to be the colours that you pick. Next, what we're going to do is outline the egg. And the top part, where the lightest part of the yellow will be outlined with the lightest colour. And for those of you who want to know, I'm actually using an artist grade quality pencil from WH Smith, so it's their own brand. I think they only have 1 collection of artist grade pencils, so even though I've thrown away the packet, I don't think it will be difficult to find it. But you can shade with pretty much any pencil that you come across. Alright, so the top half has been outlined with the light yellow. Then we're going to move on to our transitional colour, and I'm going to put this around this bottom section here. In the picture, when I put this colour in, you probably will not be able to see it, but it does make a difference. It acts as a transitional colour. It's one of those colours that sort of melt into the picture and you don't know if it's there anymore, but without it, it would make a difference. And then the bottom part is going to be outlined with the orange colour. And I've picked orange rather than a really dark yellow because it acts as a real contrast. It has a real darkening effect, so it's within the same family colour-wise, but it's dark enough so that it helps create that 3-dimension that I want. With the lightest yellow pencil, I'm then just going to outline a little shape at the top where the light is going to hit, and now we're going to start shading it in. So I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to push down hard at the outline, and then I'm going to bring the colour towards that zone here where the white should be. And I'm doing this by pressing hard, but as I come towards that zone, I'm lightening the pressure on my pencil, which should hopefully act to give a gradient effect. I'm hoping that that is how it's looking, but I am aware that I'm wearing sunglasses to try and block the studio lights from my eyes, because it affects my eyes really quite badly. So I'm actually not seeing as well as I could. As I move down, by the way, I am going to loosen the pressure, because as you get to the next colour, you want to be able to blend the 2 colours together. So blending is when you put 2 colours on top of each other, and the best way to do that is by pressing lightly on the paper, because if you press hard, what you're actually doing is burnishing. And when you burnish, you create a wax-like layer on your paper, and that makes it very difficult to blend colors together to create a third color. What you would be able to do is put a color on top of the other, on top of the burnished color, but that wouldn't create a blended effect. So when you come close to the second color, or when you're about to combine two colors together, try and make sure that you press lightly with a pencil so that you can actually blend. So I'm just going to lightly color over the rest of the egg now. So now I'm going to start creating a gradient around this end. So I don't know if I used the name before creating a gradient, but that's what we're doing around here. We're starting from a very dark version of the color and then loosening the pressure on our pencil to create a gradient, a dark to light variation. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a point quite low down, maybe a bit lower than halfway of the egg. This is where the darkest point is going to be with the yellow pencil, and now I'm going to create a gradient going upwards. So dark down here, and as I move upwards I loosen the pressure to try and create a gradient. Alright, so around the edge I'm going to do the same thing, dark to light but going inwards, because we want to create that 3-dimension. So when it comes to this area here and this area here, I want to make it a little bit curved. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press hard around here and then blend out from this direction inwards. Again, leaving this little white part here because that's meant to be where the light hits the egg. And if you feel like you've messed it up by putting down a little bit too much colour, then you could just put your finger down and lift some of the colour up. And then go back over. Okay, so now we're going to move down, further down on the egg. And I'm going to make sure that I have a base layer of the light yellow on. And I want this on there because I'm trying to blend colours. I want to blend the second colour in with this. Right, now I'm going to pick my second colour up, which is this one. And I'm going to mark down where the darkest point of this colour will be. So I'm imagining that it'll probably be around here. And I'm going to press lightly with a pencil. You don't want to burnish. You press down hard with your pencil until you've got all the colours that you want on the paper, because the moment you burnish you can't really go back and add more colours in a smooth looking fashion. It starts to look really, well, you start to see your pencil strokes a lot more and it doesn't look neat. Go back in with the yellow and I'm going to create a gradient going downwards. So what I'm trying to do is blend these two colours together. So I'm going to constantly be going from the light yellow, and then I'm going to be switching to the darker colour, and I'm going to keep on doing this until I get the blend that I want. Darken up this edge here, and I'm going to darken up this edge here as well. Okay, so the gradient of the darker colour going upwards, you need to get that as perfect as you possibly can, and that's because when you burnish, you take the lighter colour and you press hard on top of the darker colour, which means that the darker colour should hopefully show through the lighter colour, and it also means that you're not going to be able to edit the darker colour afterwards, so we need to get our shade as perfect as we can with the darker colour before we burnish. So I'm just going to do one more check over the darker colour before I burnish it. I think I'm going to do, that's all I'm going to do on that. Then I'm going to take the lighter colour and I'm going to start burnishing. So I'm going to press hard over the darker colour. So the next thing we're going to do is put the light yellow colour to rest for a bit, and we're going to bring back the second darkest colour, which was this one here. And I'm going to do a light blend over the bottom area. Not a blend, I'm just going to colour very lightly with the pencil. We're not blending just yet. If anything, we're creating a base colour. And we are going to do the same process again. But this time we're going to bring our orange into play. Press down hard with the pencil around here, bearing in mind that as I come towards this area, I'm going to press lightly because I don't want to burnish anywhere where the two colours connect until the very last moment. And now we're going to blend upwards. So press down hard with the pencil down at the bottom, and then as I move upwards, I loosen the pressure. Okay, so I'm going to bring back this colour that was here, and I'm going to create a blend going downwards. And the reason why I'm creating a blend and not burnishing at the moment is because I want to go back one last time with a darker colour just to make sure that I've got it the way I want it to be. So I'm just going to bring the orange back in and just put it in wherever I want it to go. Now I think that I'm ready to burnish it now. And the rule to burnishing seems to be that the lighter colour should be burnished on top of the darker one. Or I don't really know if that's really a rule, but it just seems to be the method that works the best. I don't really see how it makes sense to burnish the darker colour on top because that will cover the light colour completely. And let me just do one more thing, which is try and neaten up this top area here because it is quite messy, but because of my sunglasses it's really difficult for me to see the light yellow, so I don't even know if I'm going to be making it worse or better by doing this. Hopefully better. But up in this white area here, I'm just going to very, very lightly press down with my yellow pencil because I don't want it to be just completely white. There's just one more thing that I should really be doing, and that's creating a shadow on the egg. Because you might notice from my picture here that I've put shadows in, but the shadow wasn't done with black, it was done with brown, and I did that because I wanted a very subtle shadow. Plus, the basket is going to be black, and I didn't want the basket and the eggs mixing into one. I wanted it to be obvious that we're dealing with eggs and a basket. So my shadow was done with brown, and I'm just going to do that for you guys now. Here is the brown pencil that I'm using. It's a very, very dark brown. You can use a lighter one still. And I'm going to push down very lightly. I think that's all I'm going to do. Otherwise this video is going to end up being really long. If you want a better idea of what the shadow would look like, I'm just going to show you the practice image. So over here you can see, for example, much more obviously down here there is a shadow. On the orange egg, or yellow egg, it's a little bit harder to pick up the shadow, but it is there. And I've also got a shadow going down this egg and also over here. I like how subtle a shadow the brown pencil creates. If you want a harsh shadow, by all means use black, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that for this picture I wanted a subtle shadow, which is why I used it. But that is part 2 of the tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you'll be back for the 3rd, where I will be showing you how to shade in the basket. I'll see you guys next time.